Hello, beautiful souls. It's Teresa Coutman at the Boo Report, and it is 9/12/2025. And let's go over the energy, the chart today. Remember, this chart today is really should reflect my guidance from the day before. So yesterday's guidance was out before 10 a.m. And this right here is, let me see. This right here shows where the energy stopped. So my reading for the 11th was out before this energy showed up. So this was yesterday at 10 a.m. Yesterday the 11th, and this is going to go to the 12th at 10 this morning when this shows up. So this was last night's energy right here. And this will be coming up. We still have a little more energy left for the morning for this reading that I already did. So this was the energy that I gave. And of course, when I give the reading, I already know what happened previously, the previous day. So on 9/11, when I woke up in the morning to give 9/12's guidance, I already had known about the murder of Charlie Kirk. So, and knowing that, I gave the energy reading for that. So I was a little bit behind, so it's a little bit confusing, but this would be this energy. And I really like that yesterday's reading did have the Nine of Cups, which is a very beautiful card, and that was the outcome card. So we do have some really nice energy coming in. I like this white energy. So I hope that beeping is not, I don't know if something's loose or something's trying to get my attention, but I can't figure it out. It's annoying. So let's see. Then I have this good energy here. So if we go over the energy, how it's showing up to my guidance. Let's see. Anchors. I wanted to go over more of yesterday's, the recap. Yeah, the recap, we had the Knight of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Eight of Swords, Nine of Cups, Five of Cups, Seven of Wands, Four of Cups, still in effect until 10 a.m. this morning, Pacific time. That guidance reminded us of the urgency mixed with restriction, the trap of fear, and the need to shift perspective in order to reach fulfillment. But there was this fulfillment card, and that was really nice, the Nine of Cups. And the Five of Cups just shows sadness, so I think the collective's still kind of reeling a little bit over what happened. And there has to be a little bit of fear. Everybody has to have some kind of fear. There's been a lot of political violence, so just craziness. A lot of people just going off into insanity. And maybe, I don't know the answer, if it's like we need more asylums, and maybe that's the answer to homeless people too, is that some people will never be able to maybe function, and they need care. So what kind of care are we going to provide? Just let people fend for themselves out on the street? And sure, some people need help with drugs, and some people, just because of drugs, then they may never be able to function again either. Because drugs like methamphetamines really damage your brain and your organs. I know young people think, oh, I'm indestructible, but you will probably burn out at about 40 if you keep doing drugs. I mean, you'll be lucky if you live that long. If you keep doing meth or crack, some of those. Now, heroin's not as dangerous, but it's fairly expensive, and there's a lot of fakes out there. So unless you're making your own, get some poppies and growing some stuff. And that's another thing, too. If we need these kind of things to know what they are and how to make them ourselves, because opium and some of these painkillers would be available even if the pharmaceuticals shut down and we couldn't get any drugs. We could have our own drugs for when needed. And those drugs really are a blessing. And the natural drugs too. We have mushrooms. We have marijuana. I'm not against any of these drugs, marijuana, these natural products. However, they will inhibit some of your spiritual growth because they, like with marijuana, you won't dream as much. It's kind of just like the pharmaceuticals. You lose your dream world. And it's really important that what's in your subconscious comes to your conscious mind. So dream work is really important to me. So I can once in a while, but not a lot. So yesterday's energy showed that we had some grumblies still, and really deep grumblies over in here yesterday. So we had some tears. So the Four of Cups, well, it's tears though, but with the outcome can change. We're defending our territory with the Seven of Wands, and that, again, is like the political aisles too. It's them, it's them. And there's a lot of that going on, and that is not very helpful. However, what's really, really sad is that you have people cheering this on. Then, oh yay. The witch is dead or something like that. I've seen some things, but maybe that's the minority. But there were high-level people that got fired. TMZ, they were cheering. They said it was a car crash. They were cheering, but in another room. However, they said temple, and there was no car chase. And then they tried to correct that with something in LA. However, that still didn't line up, so there's a lot of deception. People saying one thing just to keep their jobs and things, but feeling another way. That to me is that Seven of Swords that keeps coming up. Or is it the Five? It's the one where she's wearing a mask. So I am learning this new tarot deck, so in my mind it's hard for me to see the image, and they're not really clear. I might go to the that weight deck, but I don't know. It's just so old and archaic looking. But it's very simple, and you remember, and you can look at it and tell what it is. Whereas these ones, it's hard to tell. Well, he has a sword, so it's a Knight of Swords on this draw from yesterday for this energy here. So I gave this energy report, the guidance for 9/12 on 9/11. However, when I do the draw, the energy comes forward that I knew, and the sadness of what happened, the murder of Charlie Kirk. So this was for guidance. So the energy report really, once I see the energy, it's really pretty much already lived, and my guidance is already done. So the guidance for 9/12. So it looks charging forward. I do like that with action and this big energy. We have some. The Miser came out though in the vibration. The Miser card, the Three Pentacles. Is it the Four Pentacles? So, no, it was the Four Pentacles. Eight of Swords, Nine of Cups, and Five of Cups. So the hidden card was the Five of Cups, which is hidden sadness, and we need to process any kind of sadness we have over this murder, senseless, and a person who, I wish I could say I was as accomplished at 60 as he was at 31. So definitely they say the Knight of Swords is a fast burning. So his life was really short at 31. And people holding their ground with the territories. So to clarify that reading, that energy, and the guidance was to say that that's what people are going to be doing and to watch out for that. So watch out that we don't get too territorial. And I wish all news people could just be more, I don't want to say woke, like awake, but more conscious. More conscious. I know Regina Meredith is from Gaiam, now Gaia. She's what used to be a sportscaster and a newscaster, and she actually started Fox News, and her goal was to provide good news every day, good things that are happening, and building people up and showing people, hey, look at this, look what they're doing, you can do this too, and that kind of thing. Instead, we have, and nobody was buying that because people's, I guess their fears were just like, we can be motivated by our fears more than creating great destinies. So she couldn't, keep it going, so she sold it, and it eventually became Fox News. So the news is just like showing you the worst of the worst, and narratives of corporations and probably competing and conflicting corporations, right? So you might have some corporations that the left media is being propped up by, and then you have different corporations at the right. So you probably know industrial military complex, and they both have their good and their evil sides. However, it's what they will do to get their way that is very scary. So that's what you kind of have to say, is like, what were these corporations, what extent and what lies will they go to? So it's an interesting topic. And part of the woo, the woo report. So, and this, I'm just trying to see how, this kind of is an experiment for me, how daily readings show up. Do they reflect the energy that we live? So this is not the guidance. So this is just showing what we've already lived. This is the energy already lived. And this was my guidance for it. So it was 9/11 was my draw. 9/11 before 10 a.m. And I give it for the next day. So it's really, I'm going to start writing that in the, so I can remember, because this 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. stuff that I'm doing right now, it's kind of confusing. So it's not like the usual 24-hour cycle. The cycle is from 17 UTC, which is 10 a.m. Pacific time right now, until 10 a.m. the next day, so Pacific time. So this guidance was given, I did the draw on 9/11, but the draw was actually for guidance for 9/11, 9/12, 10 to 10. So we can see here it came out early. Sometimes this chart doesn't update until 10 a.m., so it would just show to 17 of the previous day, 9/10. So this energy will be done at 10 o'clock, 9/12 today. And this started here at 10 o'clock, 9/11. So that's their cycle. This is from Russia, and then it's brought to us by the Italians, and it's UTC time. So this energy all happened about 12 o'clock at night. So let's see, this was started at about 4 UTC. So it started about 4 UTC. My handy dandy. 4. So that's saying it's 9 o'clock. Start off at 9. 4 UTC is 9 p.m. So 4 UTC is 9. So here's 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. So it's like 1:30. And we don't know what the rest of the energy is going to show. Usually it looks like a little angel wing. So we'll see how this one pans out. It goes down in power there. So it's going to be interesting to see the chart today, the rest of the chart, when it comes out at 10 a.m. So if it's something really interesting, I'll come in and do another video. If it's predicted and it's predictable, then no, I won't. So let's get into the guidance for not any of this time. This is energy chart, but from 10 a.m. this morning, coming up, future time, future guidance from 10 to 10. So the guidance I'm giving right now is for 9:12, 10 a.m. to 9:13, 10 a.m. So that's the 24-hour cycle. So let's get rid of this. We can get rid of this. And here is the draw. Today's. If I can grab it, damn it. Damn it. Okay. So OBS, if you have windows on, they're kind of invisible, but if you try to grab one thing, you could be grabbing something else. So having too many things to grab is not good. Okay, so today's root was the 5 of Pentacles, and this is the collective foundation, feels uncertain, themes of lack, feeling left out, or security, scarcity mindset, not security, scarcity mindset. But it's not necessarily a good card, but I think it is, how everybody's feeling about uncertain about future, economy, politics. Are we going to turn into a banana republic with everything's wild, some kind of civil war? I can't see myself doing that, but some people want to believe I would do something like that. I mean, you got a profile of me, so I'm a libertarian, and I was going to go to the insurrection. I don't see it that way, and I could create a video and show my reasonings, even with facts, but some people don't want to listen, so neither side wants to listen to others. So it is really a weird situation, a weird time we're living in. But I live in the middle of people who don't believe like I do, and I feel okay expressing my views to some people. Not to everybody, but to some people. And of course, I don't care if they know, but if it doesn't come up, and politics is a subject that, just like religion, that maybe shouldn't be talking about. That's how people are now, because some people can be so triggered. So, and so triggered, and I think that's what Charlie Kirk was like. Even though he could say it calmly, nicely, from I'm not going to hurt you, I'm a very kind person, I'm very docile. Even from that perspective, his words seem to, his opinions seem to offend others. And that offense got him murdered. And so should everybody just keep quiet about their views? But all he wanted to do was debate others. And I kind of liked his things. Prove me wrong. It's like, this is what I believe. What do you think? And the prove me wrong kind of puts you at odds, but it's almost like what facts, bring some receipts kind of thing. But then the other people have to be well prepared for a debate. And if they're not, they're going to lose the debate because he's obviously prepared with as much facts as he could muster and collect. So to debate somebody but he does go into college campuses. So I guess the feeling would be if you're going to protest and do all these things, you must have a lot of information, or you should have a lot of information about what's going on and facts to prove, what you're saying. Because sometimes people say things about each other and group people together that it's just craziness. You can't really do that because everybody is so varied in their belief system, and both sides are guilty of that. Kind of saying, oh, it's them, it's that group, it's those group, that group's crazy. There's crazies in each group, but the middle of the road, pretty much all have the same ideas. We want the same things. We want things to work. I want the economy to work. I want the justice system to work, which would mean more bankers going to jail. Not picking on the little guy. They pick on the poorest people, and and they get away with so much stuff. And then if you give them fodder, like if you're violent towards them, like if you kill police and you do these things, it's going to be worse for you. So it's kind of like you have to just, acquiesce to, yeah, we don't have any power here. Fly your flag upside down. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to take up arms against the government, and I didn't think they were doing that. And, the protest, the constitutionally protected protest on January 7th. But it was a big narrative, and that's what scares me, is these narratives created. The first time I seen that was on 60 Minutes, and it was a narrative where they wanted to show a southern chain gang. So crew goes down to the south, and they come to a chain gang cleanup crew doing cleanup on the highway. And the producer says, well, where are the black people? And the prison official saying, there are none right now. These are people who are in this crew, and they happen to just be all white or Mexican, no black people today. So that was what they wanted to twist the story to say, see how black people are treated or whatever. And I do realize that what has been done to a lot of our communities and just our country in general is just bad governance and not thinking about the future. Like when JFK did that, in some of his civil rights acts where he said, we're going to let everybody move where they want to, but they had nothing in place to say, what's going to happen? They didn't think it through. Okay, black people are going to move here, and just white people are going to move out. They needed some kind of attrition and some kind of balance in between to say, okay, this has to work. We need both communities together and see how this is going to work. Not them making decisions way up here and the people down in the communities. Because that's where my parents, my mom and my grandma were at. They were at a dividing line in Michigan where black people lived on this side of Saginaw Street, and white people lived on this side. And we lived right on that divider line in Michigan, first block. And so as soon as that happened, within a very short time, by the time that went into play, there was just no more white people. There were like 3 families on a big city block, and 4 from the whole Saginaw Street to Detroit Street, which now is Martin Luther King Boulevard, but it was Detroit Street when I was growing up. So from that time, it was just a white flight, and what they call white flight. And the suburbs, I don't, even still to this day, they do not have mass transportation, no buses. And to them, I think, to some cities, that keeps out people who are poor. And if you can't have a car. It is kind of prohibitory to go to a place where you can't get to a job if you don't have a car. So some of those things are just bad governance, and then also the welfare system changed in the 60s. Before there wasn't much. My mom was on welfare, and at first it was very much seen as a charity. I mean, we got like army rations and big cans and stuff. It was like just what was left over from government production. And then it started with the food stamps. Remember the Monopoly money? I don't know if anybody remembers. I never saved any, but they were really embarrassing to have to punch out and count out at the cash register and stuff. And my mom got them, actually had to get them at a bank. So the banks were the ones distributing when they first came out. So, so that whole system, while it helped a lot of people, it also made people dependent for generations. So that it can be a problem to people's growth and their individual and their spirituality, especially if they don't even try to get off, right? Like, what am I going to do? Because if you have all that time, you could, you have your kids, so you could volunteer and you learn a lot and maybe get empowered that way. But if the school is not run properly, then you don't have that. So in a good community, the schools have a place for volunteers, and if you go there, there's an organizational thing in place, and you actually do get to kind of act like a teacher or a teacher's helper, and this can help you with contacts and jobs with other parents and things like that. So there's things you can do if you don't have a job, but if the community isn't structured that way, then that's not helping anybody. So communities were destroyed, and a lot of that was too, they said that they built projects. I remember the lady across the street from us, she was at one of the white families that was in a situation that they were there, and they too also were there from before the separation line. Her mother was, and they lived on like a few streets down, and she just was renting this house across the street from us, and her boyfriend was in the Vietnam War, so he wasn't around, but she got some housing in one of these brand new housing complexes. And these housing complexes wouldn't let fathers there. You had to be a single mother, and a lot of places would check and make sure, and were like really proactive in enforcing the rules. So some of those things just got just really hurt the African communities, African American communities. So, and they have to be rebuilt, and the only people that can rebuild them is them. They can't, with guidance from maybe other communities that have done things, but that's pretty much how it works, because you're not going to get the right solutions if somebody else is coming in and saying, this is what you need. It's not what you need. And I can speak somewhat to the, what it's like growing up in a black community. Not fully, because I was the minority. I was the hated. I was the beat up one. But there were some nice people, and we had family friends that were, African American, and there were people that saved me when I was getting beat up from a group of people. So, but I can't speak totally to their experience. I can tell you what my experience was living with them in that community, but I can't say their experience, because my mom would get mad if we ever spoke. Well, there was no name for it there, but the Ebonics. So if we came home speaking that, and my mom would get mad if teachers were teaching us that, and she would say, don't you talk like a N-word. And she apologized when she was older, and I told my mom, there's no need for apology, because you were just doing it out of love. And that's what people don't realize. I won't live in those communities, not out of hatred for them, but safety for myself and my children. That's it. I'm not going to live in a shoot-up place. If it was a Wild West place, I'd be like, what's their crime statistics? I don't want to live there. So it's not anything that I'm racist. I told my mom, you just didn't want me to be acculturated and stay there. So she did that out of love. And we finally did move when I was 12. So my uncles and stuff were really worried. I was a very beautiful woman, young girl. And, prostitution and all those things were going on then, and drugs. And there were some other families that we knew. There was one other white family left, and some of them got into drugs and things. And it's just not the way you want your kids to grow up. So we finally did get out after my grandma died, and it's a whole long story. And it's kind of interesting because my grandma has some connections with, I have an uncle that I've never met because he was missing in action in the Korean War, or the Korean conflict. It really wasn't a war. Anyway, okay, chatty grandma, I wanted to get to the reading. But this is how we're feeling, though. So we feel uncertain about so many things and so many issues. So many different community groups have issues and feel uncertain about what's going to happen. They feel like their security may be at risk. But I don't know. I just think everybody deserves safety, even in those communities where they're shooting each other up. How do they get security? If I was a mom there, I would be scared. I'd be really scared. I lived in Chicago, so there's big cities I would want to move. I had to move. I mean, I haven't been home to Michigan forever. Almost 40 years. So, because just thinking about getting on a plane and going there, I just can't do it. I can't do it. It's like, geez, my mom died, my favorite uncles died, and I just couldn't do it. Anyway, it was very traumatizing, and it has to be for those children, too. And people don't realize that trauma in children causes so many problems. It reminds me of the Bible, if it's Proverbs. I think it's Proverbs. It might be Psalms. But when you sow to the wind, you reap the whirlwind. And that's what we're doing with our families and our children and in these communities and with the housing. That's just not right. That people are so insecure and traumatized over just basic needs of housing and safety on their streets. So it's a mess. And how do we fix that? Well, it's not going to be by more money. We know that. It's going to be by work. But it's going to take ground efforts and organizations of people in those communities wanting change. And maybe even being their own enforcers of rules and things. If, you don't want, I can see not wanting outside forces. We have way too many police for the amount of crime in my area, but I guess some people say, that keeps crime down because people are afraid that there's all these police. I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, there are solutions, and they're not easy solutions, and we can feel uncertain when change happens. Like, what is that going to look like? Is it going to be we're in a lockdown situation? And there are issues with constitutional issues, with feds coming into the streets, and there are a lot of issues. But what happens when communities don't do what they're supposed to, when they just let people out of jail? Sanctuary cities are scary to me. There's some clips in Colorado where the Venezuelans were taking over apartments and they don't arrest them, and one was really funny because it's like another illegal saying that person is crazy and you're not even going to report it. You're not even going to write this down. And this person needs to be stopped. And nope, sanctuary city. And the cop explained what that meant. And that was just scary to me. Anyway, the collective foundation feels uncertain. Themes of lack, being left out, or scarcity mindset. And we have a lot of that too because people say, they have this, they have that, and I don't. So, and I can't get that because now the housing is really expensive and we don't pay as much, and they didn't have to pay as much. But I can remember when we got our house, it was so hard. You had to have a certain income. And it was still hard then. Okay, so then the current vibration is the King of Wands. King of Wands. Leadership, vision, and bold energy available to shift that sense of lack. Yeah, we need bold leadership. Now, I don't know in my lifetime if we've ever had really bold leadership. Really people coming out and saying how horrible it is. So, I don't know. I have my doubts about President Trump. I didn't like Operation Warp Speed. But he said he would never mandate it. He didn't. So, okay. At least he did what he said. Unlike others, trying to saying they would do that when they were campaigning, but then coming out and saying, "Nope, things have changed. We're going to use OSHA and make sure every employer over 100 employees is going to have that." So I was working at Amazon at the time, and myself, some of it, you just hate being told what to do. And my feeling was, if there's any danger to this, I'm going to take that to the vaccine. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to rely on my own, immune system, and I'll take that risk. And I'm old, so I'm the most vulnerable. I don't know, but so being told what to do is not a good way, and in the way it was done, epidemic of the unvaccinated, with Marines flanking them. I'm like, okay, this is fun. But I was willing to lose everything, and that's what the point people don't realize, that people get just fed up, and I see that like The Last Straw. That was really good. Sometimes I hate Tyler Perry's stuff, like the sheeple stuff. It just made white people look so stupid. It's like, really, come on. Anyway, but Last Straw was good, and or just called Straw, and just shows this woman. Her struggles, and I remember having those same struggles. Oh, I can't cash this check because I don't have an ID, and and it could just go on and on and on. And you have kids, and you have to try to make their lives reasonable and safe. So we need that kind of leadership going forward. We need vision and bold energy to shift the sense of lack. And I remember before the pandemic, President Trump was talking about creating opportunity zones in inner cities and black neighborhoods. And what that would do is one of those things that you get raising up the people already there. So the people that are running a business, they're already working their ass off. They're hustling. You give money to them, then they hire other employees. You can really chug. And he knows about business and what it takes to run a successful business and to get your employees working for you. And because it takes that too. Leadership takes that too, to have people that want to work with you and feel like they can trust you, close to you. So it's really going to take that. So that is our vibration. And I think people are going to get more and more hungry for that. And to me, some of the things so you can say action. So after January 7th, it was to me a federation, operatives, all sorts of narratives, and the pictures, you can see how they were staged, different areas. So it was like a civil disturbance, considering all the people that were there and that. So it was ridiculously overblown. It's the worst day in our history. So we really do need bold leadership and the actions of what happened. A whole bunch of people were put in prisons. Grandma with big gulps that were there. I almost was there. And then being censored. Twitter, I was banned forever for just posting what people were showing from their smartphones being on the ground. And they were calling out, Ray-Ups was one of them, where they're going, Fed, 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 Fed. And because they were saying, oh, do this, let's go do this, let's go storm the Capitol. And people didn't want that. So they were calling them out, knowing that these were operatives trying to stir up trouble in the crowd. So we have to realize that is part of the game and the narrative and the, them trying to really lock us down, also keep us from our capital. That was no reason. Even what happened then, it was like, because we have every right and probably every constitutional right to show up with guns, but they didn't. Most people didn't. There wasn't like everybody there had weapons, like we're all gonna, they had to bring up stuff with the silent conspiracy. That's ridiculous. Anyway, after that, people like myself, who are really, really sad about all of it, who've seen stuff, with your own eyes, the Georgia swing state where they just shut down a whole counting place. And they said that it was due to a water leak. It was all over the news, water leak. They had to close it down. But CTV cameras showed as soon as everybody left, the counters left, they pulled out, the watchers, they pulled out suitcases of ballots that were underneath the tables that had, tablecloths around them. So, and then they started filling them in the machine. And for the first night, the only night in my whole entire life where they stopped counting the votes. And I remember the next day, some people being very mad. This lady from Venezuela, and she's like, that's exactly what they did in Venezuela, exactly. So people were seeing that, wow, this isn't right. The Zuckerbucks and some of the swing states, they produced ballot boxes where people could just put them on the street, and they were secure. As to me, they look like Valentine boxes you put on your desk when you're a student, when you're a little kid. Some of those things, and mailmen throwing away mail from conservative districts. There was just so many things that were wrong with that election. So anyway, the protest really was, they could have held it up. It wasn't like, oh, we're going to do that. And we held it up for Gore. And they just wanted so much from it. They wanted to say that these indented were intention. But no, the rule say it has to be out. The Chads, I don't know if everybody remembered it. And we couldn't go on every little technicality that they wanted to go over. Because there's like looking at them, studying every ballot, trying to determine somebody's intent. Well, if they didn't poke it all the way through, and one of the guys, I remember some of the controversy of that was this one guy, he made, like it was still meme time. The internet was still around. And he was confused. So someone made a meme. I was baked, it's like, because he was talking like he was like a stoner. But so they were trying to say that the ballots weren't designed well. It's like, but the place where you're trying to recount is a Democratic district, and you designed the ballots. So what are you going to do about that? Make a better ballot next time? I don't know, but it was just ridiculousness in that. So they had to stop that, because that could have went on for years of just counting and trying to figure out, what was their intent. And you'll see some of the memes too. It's like the guy with the big glasses looking at the ballot. So it was the first time in my life, though, that they actually stopped. But we did address the Gore v. Bush election and to great lengths. But for this, nope, it's a done deal. And in Michigan, even the Secretary of State didn't want to, validate it and certify it. She didn't want to certify it. And they promised her they would have an intensive audit of the machines, of what happened. Nope. She should have never, do not, believe words that people tell you. I've always been like that, and it's like not the greatest personality trait, but that's just what it is. So So after that happened, after you've seen yourself portrayed as in this light as some kind of violent mob, you know, for wanting redress of your grievances and wanting it done in a constitutional manner, that's your right. Pence could have stopped it. He could have. Through the constitutional process. So, then, we just had to quiet to it and take that. It's just, they're just going to say those things. Or I can collect all the evidence and I can't put it online because everything was censored. So you just have to okay, this is what it is. But revenge voting was real. So everybody who felt disenfranchised over what happened in that election, they just for the third time voted again for Trump. So you have to realize that people were pretty angry and they got pretty motivated to do something about it. And Charlie Kirk was one of those people who went to those swing states and got, people made sure that apathy wasn't going to keep people away. Because you have to realize that's one way people cheat. The elections could be, you could say, stolen, but in a real easy manner. It's like if you don't go vote, your vote's just sitting there and can be just put in a pile, and you could have voted. And that's the transparency we need. We need to see our vote, who we voted for. We could do that, on a blockchain, so it's just a number. They don't know who we are, but we know. And we can check, and we can see who we voted for, and all those kind of things, and double check. And if we didn't vote, we can do a no contest, or, just no confidence vote. I'm not voting for any of this stuff. So, spoil your ballot. I don't even know if that's really, I don't know. But, if you spoil your ballot, if an audit was ever done, at least, they would have that. But if you don't vote at all, and you don't know if you voted, there's no way to check, then who's to say that a machine just can't put you in this column? So that's just a tip in voting. So we are really feeling this this leadership and vision that we need, and people seem to be fighting even that. And I get the way, some of the pushback. DC, that was a no-brainer. Trump absolutely has authority over DC. It's not like a state. They don't have the constitutional rights that a state has. I don't know exactly what's happening in Chicago. I thought those were just words. He really wasn't going to go do that. Now, the National Guard is a whole different thing, so it's not the federal troops. And now they've made it so ICE, some of those things can go against us, right? So ICE agents could then become checking everybody's papers. So you have to look at, no matter what side you're for, look at what the controllers want. And let's try to prevent that. Let's be peaceful and try to work with each other. Because we're really all we have. The collective needs to work together. And right now we're disjointed, and our body, one head's doing one thing, arms are doing something else, and it's just a shit show. So we are the body, the collective, working together as a body, and it's not an easy thing. So that's the current vibration. Now the challenge is the Hermit. And I haven't seen this card since I started. I started reading in August. So the Hermit's going inward. It may feel isolating or difficult. Patience and inner wisdom are required. So the challenge is we're having a hard time going inward. We're feeling isolated. And we're having a problem having inner wisdom. And that's going to be required in these times of this, unsettling violence. And then we have the outcome is the Star. That's a lovely card. It's a really beautiful card. And that's healing, renewal, and hope or promise beyond the current struggles. So I really like this reading for that. It's showing a lot of what's going on in the collective. And it's like a lot of times I think to myself too, a tarot reading shouldn't be anything that surprises you. Now the one I did for the 10th, the one I did on the 9th for the 10th, I did for the 10th before that day. And it showed 3 major arcanas, and that meant something was going to happen big. I said, we'll see, because I'm like kind of new to this. I'm like, for these daily readings. So I said, well, let's see, especially for the collective. I'm new to the collective reading instead of the individual. So I've kind of had to learn, well, how will this work if I do it for the collective? So, in the one before Charlie Kirk's murder, 3 major arcanas came up for that day. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see if something comes up today. Well, it did. And the really fascinating thing was the challenge card on that day was joy. We're going to be challenged to joy. And I was like really confused about that. Why would the Sun and the best card be in the challenge position, right? And then the outcome was the fates. So I'm like, okay, a fateful day. So that's what I kind of called that day once I knew that happened. Because it really was something that, really say, wow, some of this woo is real. So my intuition, using the cards, was like right on. So this does too have two major arcana. Not 3 out of 4, but 2. So something may happen today that's good. I hope. It's good. But like I said in that reading too, the one with the 3 major arcana, sometimes it's layers that we don't know how important it was until it becomes known to us. So it could be hidden, or it's something signed into law, or something like that. So the hidden card is the 6 of Pentacles. There you go. Okay, 6 of Pentacles. Themes of giving and receiving fairly. Balance and exchange. And I think this is a really interesting draw based on the 5 of Pentacles. We're feeling uncertain and feelings of lack. Well, maybe this is more of what's happening behind the scenes with the leadership, the current vibration, bold energy, leadership and vision to balance this out, because it hasn't been fair for a while, or fair playing field for a while in America. So for any of us, and like those more in poverty, it's even worse. So, but it's not good for anybody right now, unless you're the ones making money while you sleep with, other kind of big money investments and banking and stock market and things like that. So the Clarifier is the Hierophant, and that is a major, so that's interesting. And then major arcana, but it's just a Clarifier, so it's not really the real spread. And then the 9 of Swords. So with those, the 9 of Swords, anxiety and overthinking remain part of the collective struggle. And of course, with what happened, we're all still in anxiety. And then with the Hierophant, we have traditions, teaching, and spiritual structures step in to guide us. So when sometimes these things happen, some people get more and more into their tradition, more and more entrenched, and want to go back to traditional values and there's been kind of like a coming back to that, but I think more in the sense of we need support for families and ways to help families, because we don't want to sow to the wind with our children, because they are the future, but when they're traumatized, they can be, their IQ goes down, they're not as loving, they're not as kind. So we need so much care for our young people, so much for our children. And if the families don't have support, then they can't provide that. And one of the ways I think with women, we can support women in this, is if they do stay home in their, traditional relationship, or if the man stays home, whoever stays home in a marriage, but usually it's the woman, they share in the Social Security credits. Because that's what I'm finding out right now. It's like, oh, that's really unfair. That I'm going to get $600, $800 less a month than my spouse exchanged. He's got his way of living and his budget, and I have mine. 2 different households. That is like so unfair. Because I stayed home and, took the kids to do all their events and to school and, was the taxi driver and all that. So really, that would really help women a lot if they shared credits. So then it would be a combination of the credits, and then the monthly payout would be split between the couples. And really just some of the main earners' credits that would be the same thing, going to up the other ones. So one would get lowered and the other ones would be higher, the payouts. So I don't know. That's just my thoughts if I were queen. And that's not even being queen. That would just be like, we had a list of things that could help us today. That would be one of them that could help women today in the Social Security payouts. Anyway, so that. So the collective may feel weary, 5 of Pentacles, plus the 9 of Swords, but the King of Wands shows vision, can shift us out of scarcity. The Hermit asks us to seek wisdom within, while the Star promises renewal if we hold on to our faith. The 6 of Pentacles and Hierophant remind us that generosity, balance, and spiritual grounding are the remedies. Yeah, duh. But so many people in lack don't have that time. It's almost like the roof over your head. It is. The roof over your head and food on the table is so urgent that you don't have time for balance at all. So, I see a lot of people posting about things like that, about, they can't go, have no vacation, no this, no that. And it's like that for a lot of people across the board. So, things need to change. But I think if we work together as a collective, we can change things. But if we entrench ourselves into either trench, then, I don't know if it would lead to civil war. I don't know. It's just a really tough time right now. So the anchors, the weekly cards, the 3 of Pentacles. Yay, little beavers here. Busy beavers. Cooperation and teamwork. Today's spread echoes this with the 6 of Pentacles, a fair exchange, and the Hierophant, shared tradition and teaching. The guidance, you don't have to carry this alone. Lean into collaboration. Monthly theme is the 8 of Pentacles. Learning through steady work. The 5 of Pentacles at the root of today's ties directly into this. The sense of lack is exactly what the 8 of Pentacles teaches us to overcome through persistence and mastery. So some of those things like that people are afraid of, like the workfare thing, like working for welfare payments, I think it should be, it wouldn't be a lot of hours, but maybe like if you got, it's so low. Oh my God, I don't know how people live on welfare with the family. It's so low. So like 4 hours or something. And I think it should be like at the schools too. If your children are in school or in daycare, some of your hours are spent there, because then you don't have to pay for daycare, pay for school. And the school, you're a volunteer helping kids read. I've done that. I really enjoyed it. So, and I think all parents could really enjoy that. So that gets you out of the house and doing something. And again, contacts in the community. Yeah, I'm looking for a job, because a lot of jobs will be better. And I do think too, so that people shouldn't think, oh, I'll lose benefits if I work. We should not have that we should encourage people to work so they keep a base, and then over it they get to keep. So they realize, if I work, I make more. I don't have to depend on others for. You have to realize it's charity. You are depending on others for your monthly living expenses. It's charity. People think they're entitled. No, it's meant to be a charity, not we're entitled. But then some people, it's a fair point to say basic living expenses. Is a basic living allowance, something like that, may be needed if we're going to go into this, and just maybe a gap, not like, oh, our whole society is going to be like this forever, when AI takes over, if it ever does. Right now, working with it, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Anyway, so, and the monthly gift, and the monthly challenge was the Nine of Swords, too, like this one. Appears today as a clarifier. Anxiety is part of the collective challenge this month. So the collective challenge was the Nine of Swords for September. So I do a monthly draw, and then I do the weekly cards. And so also interesting, the anxiety card was the challenge this month. But the star reminds us that healing is still unfolding. So yeah, the star card today was really nice. That was a tarot draw. This is today's draw, and this is how I'm going to do it, because this makes it far more clear that this draw that I did, I'm putting out this video today, 9/12/2025. It'll probably be 7:40-ish before I actually post it. I wanted to get it out earlier, but as I'm working through these issues, it's just, I'm getting the template, done for this here. So I did that this morning. That took me a little bit longer. But they're the clarifying cards for the day, our foundation, vibration, challenge, outcome, hidden energy here. So this just makes it clearer. I'm going to do that for the monthlies too. So yeah, there's the monthly. Just so we can see that as I talked about the monthly. So here's the monthly. I didn't do any brightening or anything on it, but I want to do that same thing for this draw, where this was the challenge. This is this, that's that. So with the current vibration, the monthly, I have a little note here. See, I see notes now, because this is I just created this draw when I wanted to do it for the collective. So I don't know if I'm going to change it, but this seems to be working really well. The theme for the month was Eight of Pentacles. Lesson, the Hanged Woman or the Hanged Man. The challenge was the Nine of Swords. There's the Nine of Swords up. But even the Eight of Pentacles, the Hanged Woman, Hanged Man, and the Nine of Swords together, the lesson and the challenge, pretty tough month. So, and this deception here too, with the hidden card being the Seven of Swords. That's the one where she's wearing a mask, but she really can see. She really, her eyes are open, but she's trying to wear a mask to either hide. Okay, so the challenge was the Nine of Swords right here, and then the gift was the Page of Pentacles. The direction or the outcome was the Queen of Cups, and the hidden force, Seven of Swords. Clarifier, Nine of Cups. I didn't put up there, and the Nine of Cups and the Knight of Swords. So, and that's all just Schumann resonance. I believe that Schumann resonance was the Knight of Swords, the SR, the energy, which goes to my reading of yesterday. SR was the Knight of Swords was the grabbing everything but what I need, damn it. Okay. The Knight of Swords I looked at kind of like a symbolic person of Charlie Kirk himself. And the thing that was weird about it is it said, you know, in the tarot reading for the Dream Keeper's Tarot that this person's a flash in the pan. I thought, okay, that's kind of weird that he did make this splash and now he's gone. You wouldn't expect that to be, though normally you just expect them to have this illustrious thing happen and then nothing heard from them again. But this is exactly, nothing's going to be heard from them again. But not in the usual sense that you would think, oh, somebody just goes and does something else or does something else in their job. So that was kind of like a real interesting card for yesterday. So, well, yesterday to 12 o'clock today, 10 o'clock today, which I know it's so freaking confusing, but so mostly all day yesterday until 10 o'clock today. So, that was really interesting. So, interesting month. And like I said, I'll have the energy, another quick video if something happens. Don't see it. I mean, we could get some crazy energy or some crazy thing happening. And the cards going forward this will be from 10 o'clock today, so we may see some energy come in that is tied really well to this draw or, you know, this challenge, or the vibration. I don't know, maybe something big's going to happen with Trump doing something, and leadership wise, I'm not sure what's going to happen. We'll see. I thought the Hierophant was interesting too. That indicates we're seeking deeper understanding and spiritual growth within the collective. So I'm hoping that these some of these the guidance can, you know, correlate and also apply to the collective. So, as actions, the Hierophant is clear now that it's time to seek guidance and embrace tradition. Embrace the collective should embrace ourselves in learning, and maybe even learning about, oh, what do these people want? What do those people want? How will that work out? And what's the best way to make sure funding is actually being funded for the right things, and, you know, accountability and money, because that's the big thing for me. Is like there's just no accountability, and money goes up missing all the time, and you're like, what the frick? That's wrong. We have enough money to, you know, build everybody a house with what they say they lost. You know, it's just lost. I was like lost. Another term for laundering. Anyway, so the guidance. Oh, I also did some planetary alignment for that. Oh yeah, so we may feel weary today from going forward today. But something that's showing the King of Wands shows vision can shift us out of scarcity. So let's see what happens. The Hermit asks us to seek wisdom within, while the Star promises renewal if we hold on to faith. Can we have faith in our leadership, in our country, in each other? Can we? The Six of Pentacles and the Hierophant remind us that generosity, balance, and spiritual grounding are the remedies. Yeah, just agree to disagree on so many things right now. And the most important things are accountability of our leaders and money. Gas, money, funding for what people need, not what they need, not mansions and their $1 billion portfolios. Sure, it's not billions, but they're $1 million. And then they talk about, oh, those billionaires, those millionaires. You. And it's even worse when you're a millionaire and you've spent your life in public service. And your whole family are millionaires. Wrong. Okay. So the planetary field notes, these are insights from Adrienne Elise. And I'll have a link to her reading. So for the planetary stuff, so we're in between eclipses. The Pisces lunar eclipse happened last week, which shook us deeply, that keyhole portal. And now the sun approaches the south node September 11th. That was yesterday. With Mercury close behind, that's today. This alignment at 18 degrees in Virgo begs the question, who are we as stewards of Mother Earth? Are we doing our job? And a lot of times we don't even know what we're doing, right? What we're funding with these 401ks. Yes, anybody who has a 401k, BlackRock, you built that. That's all from our money. So yeah, that was a hard one to take, right? This is a time of destiny, Adrienne says, with the planetary alignments. The water trine kite shows us we are reclaiming lost magic and healing shame. Mercury will soon flip the kite into air September 16th through the 21st. Opposing Saturn and Neptune, the tables are turning and truth must come forward. Oh, I'm waiting for that. Aren't we all? Translation for today's spread, with these all in the mix. The Hermit plus the star align with the sky energy perfectly. We are being asked to pause, heal, and remember who we are before the leap forward. The Five of Pentacles may feel heavy, but it's part of the purge before renewal. So today's affirmation is, even in scarcity and uncertainty, I hold to vision and faith. Faith in myself, faith in my community, and faith in this nation. I must trust that healing is unfolding, that balance will be restored, and that destiny is guiding us towards renewal. With that, I'll say goodbye. Have a good one.